Welcome back to another episode of the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, the show where we bring in senior living experts, advocates, and change makers who are improving the lives of aging adults and their families every single day. Today's guest is someone who's really walking the walk when it comes to protecting and serving the senior community. Michelle Wasser is a fellow eXp Realty agent and based in Oregon City, Oregon. And she's created something truly impactful, a monthly lunch and learn series for local seniors to help them avoid scams, stay safe, and get access to reputable, trustworthy services in their community. This episode is packed with real stories, practical tips, and inspiration for anyone who wants to serve the senior population with integrity. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we help families navigate senior living, real estate, and everything in between. Hosted by Senior Transition Specialist Dale Corpus, this show brings you expert insights, real solutions, and stress-free strategies to make senior transitions simple. Ready to dive in? Let's go.
We're back, everybody. Michelle, I'm glad to have you on the show today. How are you?
I am doing fantastic.
Michelle, you're the very first realtor I brought on to the show, and I love the fact that we're both eXp real estate agents for the eXp Realty, and it's just like I love the collaboration and I love what you're doing in your state, and that's why you inspired me just to actually bring you on because us as working with seniors, we do different things, but we're still supporting the senior community in our own way. So I wanted to share with my audience what you're doing out there. So Michelle, I always love hearing the why behind someone's work. Can you tell us what inspired you to start hosting monthly lunch and learns for seniors?
Yes, actually, it came from personal experience. I specifically, I have an aging mom, and I realized once we got to this part, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about their resources. And as we started progressing, I realized there just wasn't any place to go. There wasn't a lot out there. It's not like I could pick up a book and say, do this, do this, do this. And so that kind of started the journey and the ball rolling. And then combining that with my professional life as a realtor, it was just a great fit. It was something that I became very passionate about.
Got it. Were there any other specific stories or incidents that pushed you to also take direction and start this movement?
Yeah, I was seeing a whole lot of seniors in my industry that were getting taken advantage of, and there were a lot of just disreputable people or businesses that were really targeting them. And I kept hearing story after story after story, and I just felt like, not only was it a burden on my heart, but I really wanted to step in and do something and have an active role in changing that.
Okay. People may not be familiar with any sorts of scams, but like what kinds of businesses, was it all types of businesses or any particular types of businesses that were, doing predatory practices on seniors?
Yeah, a lot of like contractors were
Wow.
going, door to door. Hey, I see you need a roof. Sign here. Let me help you with that. And that was one of the things I was hearing stories from some people in my circle where the phone calls just, oh my goodness, I'm with the IRS, you owe blah, blah, blah. And there was just so much misinformation. And I really felt like the resources for seniors were so limited and they didn't know how to access that. Like some of those things are available to them, but they had no idea where to find it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to do something about it and see if I couldn't just really serve that specific community, which is so vulnerable, and just be a resource for them.
Yep. So I know you're a realtor and you already touched some on this, but the work clearly goes beyond real estate with what you're doing. Why is serving seniors such a passion for you?
You know what? Again, I guess all my life I've, been rooting for the underdog or those people who really have nobody to champion for them. And I feel like seniors, we've seen technology move so quickly. And for many of them, it's just a foreign language. And so they have no idea even where to begin. And so not only did we want to educate them, but we wanted to find some reputable people who have been vetted and who we know their work ethic and connect the two. So if it was health or safety or whatever that was, we wanted to make sure we had a hand in that and just really gave that to them so they had a place to look and a place to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, we just talked about some of the scams that predatory practices, like you mentioned, roofer and even IRS scam.
Mhm.
What are maybe any other common scams or shady tactics that you've seen? Anything else come to light?
Yeah, I feel like so often that there are people who are just trying to close a deal. Even in our industry. I mean, we just see it, and so they forget the human part in it. They forget the person behind it. They're just looking to get that next transaction, that next dollar, and it may not even be what those clients need. Not everybody needs to move from their home or to buy a new one, and I want to make sure at least myself, I've got some integrity and honesty that if they're just looking for safety or they're looking for some things that can help them, that's my first concern. And the people I work with, I want everybody to be in that same like-mindedness. It's
Okay.
about the people.
Yep, I totally agree. Now, want to already go back to the lunch and learns that you've been doing. How did the lunch and learn program come to life? And what did the first event look like?
So I'll backtrack just a little bit because it kind of sets the stage. I started a professional network group for
Okay.
the same reason that brought me to AgeWise PDX, which is my senior group. I
Okay.
wanted to work with professionals who had integrity and were honest in their dealings. And so that kind of began this big ball rolling. And what I was finding is all of this as business owners got together and we were seeing the same type of problem where the seniors in our community were either being mistreated or taken advantage of. And once we started chatting about that, then we all decided there's really something we can do about that. We didn't want to just be um, just another group meeting and just, connecting and networking. We actually wanted to have an impact in our community. And so several of us kind of side off of our initial network group and started something called AgeWise PDX.
Yeah.
And what that was is we decided we wanted to be a resource with nothing in it for us,
Yeah.
just to be able to serve this group of individuals. And so we started talking about what those needs could look like. What do seniors really need in their life and what topics would be relatable to them? And so we came up with the 6 pillars that we build these lunch and learns on. And those are health, legal, technology, community, resources, and safety. And so again, as we got down to that part, then we thought, okay, health, what's important to seniors that may be a little bit different than the regular day to day that's very much just for them. And so once we had a plan, we had our topics, then we started reaching out to some of the networks that we've already been working with, the businesses there, and how we could work together to bring this information front. And so the very first one was about aging with health and good health and being wise about that. And so we had met somebody who does like a physical therapy type of business that was in our network, came in and spoke for an hour about ways that people can stay young and keep their brains energized. And it was just amazing. We had such a great response.
Well, now, how do you choose the topics and the speakers each month now?
We like to pick from our local networking group, our business networking, because again, the initial one that we started, which is a professional group, we've worked with them. We've seen them in our community. We've seen them active and they've all worked with some of our clients. So they're well vetted. But again, when we look at those 6 pillars, we very specifically try to ask those questions as somebody over 55. What is it that I'm looking for? Technology. You're talking about identity theft and fraud. That was one of our lunch and learns. Oftentimes seniors, if it happens to them or they're being approached by somebody who might be wanting to take advantage or scam them, they don't reach out for help because of either embarrassment or they're just unfamiliar with technology. They get an email, they don't know how to check to see if it's real. So it's things like that. You're trying to put yourself in that mindset of a senior. But honestly, it's talking to seniors. It's, what are you interested in? How can we be a help to you?
Hmm. Now, how did you get the word out even about your lunch and learns, and who's mainly going? Is it the seniors themselves or is it their adult children? Is it both?
Both, both. So we got the word out. We partnered with different local churches in our area that run senior groups. I also work with a gentleman who works specifically for senior housing, people transitioning into retirement or assisted living, that type of business community. So we really focused on those areas. And again, let's not forget social media because that's the best thing out there. We use that platform and different local communities within social media to really advertise and get the word out.
Okay, got it. Now, you've built strong partnerships with local churches. Again, how did you get into doing that, and how important have you found that?
Oh, it's incredibly important. And for many of us, one of them, of course, is a church that I attend that I know has a very strong senior following. The pastor's been there for 40 years. And so it's got a great following of seniors, people over the age of 55. But really, we took a look in our community on some of the larger churches with a high senior population. We also have an area that has a senior center where people go for community and resource together. And so really it's pinpointing those areas where seniors are active and where they participate in. And that's where we're reaching out to.
Okay, perfect. Now, what do you do to make sure everything stays educational and not salesy?
Um, so the very first thing I do at each meeting is I get up and I introduce myself and I give the why. Why are we
Yeah.
passionate about serving seniors? And I do let them know I'm here to be a resource for them. I mean, my tagline is your lifetime real estate resource. I'm not here to sell anything. I'm certainly not here to build my business, though I am available should you have need of those services. But we're here to be a blessing and to educate. That's what we're here for.
Okay. Now I want to segue into questions related to lessons learned and community impact.
Mhm.
Now, what kind of feedback have you received from attendees?
Oh my goodness. It's been overwhelming and
Okay.
certainly positive. I think being able to have community, that's so important just for mental health and for all of those things that seniors need. We make sure that each meeting we have, there's time allotted for that. They can
Yeah.
get to know the people at their table. You're not just sitting there, snacking on cookies and drinking coffee, listening to somebody drone on for an hour. It's very interactive. It's very participatory. So everybody's having a great time. We're seeing a really good regular following and
Hmm.
new people every time we meet.
Hmm. Now, on a related note, have you seen real results or impact from what they've learned?
Yeah, yeah, because again, we try and keep it very relevant.
Hmm.
So we just did one, we did a legal one, and we talked about the difference between wills and trusts and how to protect your assets when the time comes to go into assisted living.
Okay.
There's so much miscommunication in that realm that, a lot of people feel they're protected with just having a will, and we know that's not the case. And so that one specifically, we try and limit to an hour for our lunch and learns. We probably could have sat there for 4 hours and not exhausted the topic. So this is one where people not only learned a lot, we had people in our professional industry that were coming to hear that as well, which was
Yeah.
even better because it was so educational.
Yeah.
So again, we're just getting so much positive feedback and we're trying to keep this so relevant that it's been fantastic.
Okay. Oh, how has how have your lunch and learns changed how you see your own role as a real estate professional?
Oh my goodness. Again, it's all about building relationships.
Yeah.
And you know this because you're in the industry. If you're just in it for the paycheck, you're in the wrong business because every person and every story is so different.
Yeah.
As I'm going through these lunch and learns, as I'm getting to know this community, you do a lot of listening and you're hearing really what they value and
Yeah.
what's important to them. And so it really teaches you a lot about how to connect with them and how to have great conversation with them and how to ask the right questions. Because when you're working with a 20-year-old versus a 65-year-old, the questions are very different. It's been great.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. What advice would you give to other realtors or professionals who want to start their own community education series?
Do it. Do it.
Yeah.
Um, find some people who will partner with you who are like-minded. You're all going
Mhm.
in the same direction. Really put some thought into not how it's going to benefit you and your business, but how you're going to benefit the clients you're trying to reach and the community you're trying to reach. And that's where to start. It's take you out of the equation, put those people at the forefront, and just really do it.
Yeah, very sound advice. What's the most important thing to get right when building trust with seniors?
Hmm. Be be upfront. Seniors, they come from such a different time of life, and
Mhm.
communication was so differently. So much of us right now are technology driven. We text. Nobody picks up the phone anymore. Seniors do. It's all about that face to face contact. It's talking to them on the phone. It's visiting them with a smile. Sometimes that isolation and lack of community impacts them so much. And so we need to change that. And that's how you reach that type of person. So again, you're just those those things that the 20 and 30-year-olds are coming into where it's like, oh, I'll just shoot them a text or I'll just whatever.
Yep.
You want to talk to them, have a conversation, and look them in the eye.
Yep. Okay. Makes sense. Um, Now, how does all of this educational work tie back to your real estate services?
Gosh, it's made me a better realtor
Oh,
because I know what's on the mind for my clients. A- again, we're bringing these resources and people in, you really realize for some of these seniors, they haven't bought or sold a home in 40 years. So my conversation, this we're testing for radon now. We didn't do that 20 years ago. So we get so check marked off in our business. Yep, we've got this inspection coming and we've got this inspection. It's really helped me to slow down and really think about my conversations with people and really explaining things at a different level and not just assuming they know what I'm talking about or what the next step might.
yeah.
So it's really been helpful to bring me back to the basics and make sure that I'm being very clear in my communication.
hmm Now, when you're helping a senior transition out of a home they've lived in for decades, what are the biggest emotional and logistical challenges?
Um, Gosh, that home is typically so full of memories and so many things where as a professional we can come in and like, okay, well, we need to get rid of all this furniture and all this clutter's got to go. And really, it's being sensitive to them and realizing these are treasures that are in their home, and each little piece has a memory attached to it. So it brings the personal back into it. I'm not just coming in there as a professional with that eye of scrutiny on how I can best sell this house. It's really talking the client through and making sure they're feeling comfortable and confident with the process, and sometimes that process might be a little bit slower. Sometimes I need to bring in another professional just even to help them pack
Right.
because, again, there's so much emotion attached to these moves, and it may be just the loss of a spouse or a loved one that is forcing this move. You just need to have a level of sensitivity and really listening to the client and knowing what's important to them as you're going through it, and then have those right professionals lined up. Not everybody, not every house cleaner is the same. I need somebody who's okay with my seller still being in the home and even stopping and having a conversation to chat about that little piece of china that's
Yeah.
sitting that you're dusting. So again, it's sensitivity. It really is.
Yeah. I agree. Now, what's one thing you always make sure your senior clients know before they sell?
Um, I want it to be right for them. I want the time to be right for them. Real estate starts hopping when you're going, March through the end of June. That's when we're busy. But that timing may not be right for them. So whatever time is right for them, that's the time I want. So if it takes us 6 weeks to get ready or 6 months to get ready, I'm in it. I'm in it for them. I'm here. I'm a phone call away. When they're ready to move forward, that's when I'm ready to move forward.
hmm Okay. Now, what's the most rewarding part of the work that you do?
Oh my goodness. Making that phone call and letting them know the goal was accomplished. We're ready to take that next step. their house has sold. I'm here to help them every step of the way. My services don't end as soon as we close that transaction and sign on the paper. I'm still going to show up at their retirement home or their assisted living. I'm going to bring them flowers. I'm still going to call and say happy birthday. It's a relationship. It really is. And it's so rewarding because, again, they're so grateful, and something that seems so insurmountable to them or so overwhelming to them, we can have such a role in helping simplify it and help making it manageable. It's extremely rewarding.
And what keeps you personally motivated to keep showing up for this community?
The joy. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting more out of this relationship than they are, because it's so rewarding to see the joy that takes place when they realize they're not in this alone.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's lived in my house for 20 years, the thought of moving overwhelms me. So I can't imagine what it would be like if I was 75 or 80. So I love being that resource and that trust for them. So it keeps me coming back every single day.
Yeah. Now, what's something most people don't realize about working with the senior population?
There's a lot of stories to be told. And I personally love them because, again, as you're going through the house, you're doing your first walk through. They're going to tell you about every trinket, every bedspread, everything that really holds a special place for them. I love that part. So my listing presentations, for some maybe an hour long. For a senior, I don't set a time limit. I make sure I've got as much time on my calendar that day as they need. And I always find it wonderful when I leave and I know so much more about them. It just helps that relationship. It helps me to connect.
Perfect. I know we covered a lot. I asked you a bunch of questions, and I wanted to just see any final remarks. There's anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you yet?
Gosh, I don't think so. I think for anybody, regardless of what industry you're in, if this is an area you're passionate about, really get to know them, sit down and have a conversation. I could have Googled and Zoomed. I could have done all of this stuff to research a senior and what they want to hear about.
Yep.
But nothing replaces actually having a conversation and, tell me what would be important. What is important to you? If you could ask any question, what would it be? Really take the time to get to know whoever your target audience is. And that's where you begin.
Perfect. Now, how can people connect with you, learn more about your events, or refer someone in Oregon City your way?
Absolutely. You can reach me through my social media, Facebook, michellewooster.com or whatever at Facebook. You can reach me at AgeWise PDX, which we also have a social media following there as well. We're very active in the community. We're on grocery carts. You can find my name and email everywhere.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. Michelle, thank you so much. Thank you for being a guest here today. What you're doing for the senior community, bringing trusted resources together, creating a safe space for education, and truly advocating for seniors is just incredible. Your heart for your service shines through in everything you share today. I'm so grateful to have had you on the show, and I know our listeners will be too. And for those of you watching, if your loved one is considering senior living and you need to figure out what to do with their home, let's talk. Schedule a free consultation with me by clicking on the Calendly link located in the video description box for this episode on YouTube. You can learn more about my services at www.simplifyseniortransitions.com. Have a quick question, DM me on Instagram @SoldByDale. If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Thanks for tuning in. Michelle, thanks again for being a guest.
Thanks for having me. I love it.
You're very welcome. And for everybody else, I'll see you on the next episode of the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast.